Hi, this is Sam Candish and welcome to another marvelous videos. The Batman 2004 to 2008 is an underappreciated and unrecognized gem. This cartoon series upholds a significant chunk of the Caped Crusaders history on a kids TV show, making it so much more than that. Warner Brothers Animation produced cartoons which carved out our childhood, but its take on the 2004 Batman deserves special attention and appreciation.
How'd you do that? I'm the Batman.
With Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy kicking off to set unattainable standards for the entirety of the DC universe, alongside an enormous audience accustomed to the stagnant narrative and animation shown by the Batman, the animated series, it could be assumed that the Batman 2004 was only a spot in the cosmos of the DC universe. But people at the time failed to overlook how deeply this renewed persona of Gotham's favorite vigilante toes subtly on the theory of relativity, where he is shown more human than just a superhero swooping in with kicks and punches to save the day. The show sees a Batman who did not resort to menace at the face of adversity, but in return gave back tenfold to Gotham, so no other child has to grow up like him. The show sees a Batman who's human enough to get hurt, grief, or make mistakes. The show sees a Batman with a life and a heart, and how Bruce Wayne and Batman have more in common than we think. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. What was the show all about? Taking its inspiration from the original comic books, films, and the pre-existing animated shows prior to its release, the Batman 2004 first aired on Kids WB on September 11th, 2004. Michael Gauguin and Dwayne Capizzi's take on adding extra pizzazz to each plot with a dark, humorous, but quirky rogue having their asses kicked by the Batman in style, won the show 6 Daytime Emmy Awards over the course of its 5 seasons. It is safe to add that after Jackie Chan's adventures, the Batman 2004 is one of the finest works of art director Jeff Matsuda, who sealed the deal with his slick designs of a swift Batman evading attacks, allowing him to break free from the image of a superhero only well versed in combat. Not to forget the stellar voice cast from Reno Romano as Batman to Kevin Michael Richardson as the Joker, and of course Ming-Na Wen as Detective Ellen Yin puts together powerful packed content, which was the cherry on the cake. The cartoon series focuses upon the new age technology explored through Batman's super advanced accessories and gadgets. I mean, that Batboy could give Iron Man's high-tech armor a run for its money. The world of the show is exaggerated through brooding tones and blood-red skies. Every villain is designed to stand out in character design and persona alongside the Batman, who was intricately designed to evolve and match a similar level of flair. In today's world, the dire need of a fictional superhero is simply for the sheer need of optimism to bask underneath the shadows of a world that dismantles the laws of physics while chasing the deeper depths of one's imagination. As they say, with great power comes great responsibility. This show documents the philosophy behind a spandex suit. It explores the power dynamic between a leader and his responsibility to those he leads. Capizzi's Batman is a true idol to look up to, as he is young and has been Batman for only 3 years. Young Bruce Wayne has a higher vocal range rather than your traditional low one. He is prone to making mistakes and accepting them, which he voices from time to time, whether his landing needs to be worked upon or his gadgets need more level ups. The character in the show stands out as they speak about their own issues, which makes them even more human and real. Here, the toxic masculinity or the stereotypical machismo of brooding heroes are broken as Batman has friends to whom he confides in, which honestly allows the show to take on the path of a more relatable and realistic approach. It sheds light onto the fluidity of how superhero origin stories allows us to find meaning in loss and discover our strengths as the face of adversity and channel them towards a greater purpose. The Batman 2004 portrayed the intricacies of the true potential a character can hold rather than emitting a fictional sense of freedom. exploring the first few episodes and some of the best moments of the show. Although the series has an absurd amount of episodes, the first few are most focused and straight to the point from the DC Universe perspective, as compared to the later seasons, which seem to grow crazier with each passing episode. The beginning of the show retains the classical characterization of the perfect Batman with a modernized outtake. It deeply explores Batman's origin story and unfolds the duality of both lives that our protagonist lives. Handsome billionaire Bruce Wayne is famous among the ladies as the most eligible bachelor in the city of Gotham, and also has a very active social life. He goes to parties and plays basketball with his friend Ethan Bennett, who is a detective at the Gotham City Police Department. The show unravels with Batman facing his famous nemesis, the Joker. After putting an end to Rupert Thorne's mega heist, Batman returns to his Batcave, only to find out that all the criminals of the Arkham Asylum are wreaking havoc across the streets of Gotham. Upon his arrival, he is met with the clown Prince of Crime, who has an eerie smile and a wicked sense of humor. This Joker was designed to be rather athletic, but he did throw in a mean joke with every punch. Batman's docility can be seen when he offers to help the Joker before whooping his ass across town. This episode revolved around the concept of the Joker turning every citizen of Gotham happy and making our Caped Crusader seen as the enemy of happiness. While the Joker is busy in his mischief, Batman brings an infected house guest to his Batcave, only to understand that in order to make an antidote for Joker's gas, he will need a portion of it. On a raging quest to turn every citizen into a lunatic, the Joker fills a hot air balloon full of his laughing gas and soars towards bursting it to release havoc on the city, where of course he is met with Gotham's favorite vigilante, who drags the balloon to release upon the sea away from the city and defeats the Joker by knocking him out and ruining all of his plans. The Joker is stuck back into the asylum and Batman obtains the antidote to heal those who have been infected. Although the Joker's character was vaguely explored, it did start the show with a certain edge, even with its non-narrative format. Each episode did have a certain way to interlink with one's another storyline. What remained constant was how deeply both Batman and Bruce Wayne relied upon Alfred. It was almost as if there was an unconditional dependency that he shared with him. Batman is met with the mighty Bane in the episode named Traction, who is the result of a lab experiment gone wrong. Three mafia heads team up to seek revenge on the Caped Crusader for overriding all their heist and operations, causing them to count huge losses. They bring in Bane to defeat Batman once and for all. Bane first seems like a normal criminal in black mask and trench coat, but the surprise pops when Batman follows his Batwave to a new criminal trying to rob a truck transporting bags full of cash. Batman walked right into Bane's trap as he was simply waiting around for Batman to do his normal superhero stuff, swooping in to save the day, which he did. But our Caped Crusader was not prepared for what hit him next. As Bane activated his chemical steroid infusion, he grew 10 times the size, and not to mention extremely powerful, which caused a major setback for Batman, who got deadly injured and could barely move after he was outmatched by Bane's brute force of strength. Batman was physically shattered to a point where he could barely survive and had to call for Alfred to pick him up. The police had marked Batman as a vigilante, and Chief Rojas ordered Detective Ethan Bennett and Detective Ellen Yin to put this vigilante behind the bars, along with all the other rogues that haunted the city. From the very beginning, Ethan Bennett has been chasing after Batman like a hawk, but he seems to miss him by a second each time. Batman barely got away from their eyes with the help of Alfred after Bane attacked him. They tried to catch hold of his Batmobile, but of course they couldn't. Alfred could not drive the injured Bruce to the hospital because of the police patrol cars parked outside. Alfred treats Wayne's injuries and forces him to rest until he is fully recovered. But of course, a few broken bones and internal injuries cannot stop Batman from cooking up his next masterstroke. During his healing process, we are given a glimpse of the rough childhood that Wayne suffered as he lost his parents at such a tender age. The only person to hold him through it was Alfred, who, as mentioned before, is a strong parental figure to Wayne. Alfred is evidently always worried about Bruce's well-being. He feels that being Batman might give Bruce the solace he needs, but it will also adversely affect his health. He wants Bruce to have a life, and honestly, for an old man, he has got a delectable sense of humor, which we see as he voices his concerns by dissing Wayne's decision now and again. The first few episodes portray Batman as a solo rider, so the relationships between Alfred and Wayne is explored pretty deep. The episode picks up its pace after Batman is partially healed and builds a Batbot to match with Bane's strength. While Bane is looting and destroying the entire city of Gotham, Detective Ellen Yin catches hold of him and tries tries to make an arrest, but she's defeated in one blow. Although Detective Ethan Bennett arrives at the premise to Yin's rescue, he is not a match to Bane's inhuman strength. The plot picks up when Batman arrives in his Batbot. The next fighting scenes are packed with adrenaline as every punch is matched with a knockout of equal force. Bane almost shattered the Batbot to pieces and was on his next strike to kill Batman when the Caped Crusader human presence of mind flicked him to electrocute the point on Bane's body that generated the chemical steroid. Mighty Bane was defeated and thrown into jail by Detective Yin and Detective Bennett, putting a pause to his outrage. As Bruce prepares for a major charity event, the city faces strange robberies where precious and rare jewels keep vanishing without a trace. The Gotham police fails to find any fingerprints or evidence left behind by the thief, very similar to the modus operandi of Batman, who, although being present at the right place at the right time, has never left any evidence to trace him back. Call of the Cobblepot explored a strange villain who trains rare species of birds to do his dirty work. Mr. Cobblepot poses as a rich man who claims to apparently have a lot in common with Bruce Wayne. The episode unfolds with a robbery where the police fail to find any evidence, but Batman doesn't. Bruce meets with Cobblepot at his charity gala, where he appears as a stout, plump man accomplished by a set of kabuki twins, who he claims to be his exotic finds that he picked while traveling across Asia. Cobblepot ruins the gala with his menace and gets onto Alfred's nerves, whose grandfather apparently served the Cobblepots before they went bankrupt. Patrolling the blood-red skies of Gotham City, Batman notices a flock of birds flying in a direction with stolen jewels. He follows them only to notice the Kabuki twins loading a loot full of the city's stolen treasure in the trunk of their car. Although Batman fights both twins with utmost efficiency, they manage to flee the scene. He returns to the Batcave to find Alfred missing. Alfred tries to track down Oswald Cobblepot to hold him accountable for his missing silver plate and to give him a piece of his mind for his misbehavior at the charity gala event. This gets Alfred into life-threatening trouble as he discovers all of Cobblepot's secrets. The Cobblepot mansion is in ruins now, but before the Wayne Industries came to power, the Cobblepots reigned Gotham City. Oswald Cobblepot calls himself a penguin and vows to restore the Cobblepot family glory. Cobblepot hangs Alfred from a tree in a cage in the middle of the mansion with all the stolen wealth laid below and tries to feed him to his birds. As usual, Batman came to the rescue and saved Alfred, forcing the birds to fly away. This is followed by another adrenaline-packed duel between the Penguin and Batman, leading the Penguin to lose and be taken to jail, while all of Gotham's stolen jewels and treasures are returned. Episode 4 introduces the sexy and powerful character of the Catwoman, who tries to steal a malachite statue from the house of the Japanese millionaire and Yakuza head Hideo Katsu, but fails to cut through Katsu's high alert security system, barely escaping the grounds. While Batman is intrigued and the cops of Gotham suspect that the Batman and Catwoman are partners, Katsu is brimming with rage and appoints a troop of ninjas to fetch him Catwoman's head by hook or by crook. In the meantime, Catwoman is obsessively intrigued by stories about Batman's conquests and sets off a citywide silent alarm with the intent of luring him out. The plot unravels as her plan works, and Batman immediately trails her along Gotham's infamous ceilings. The two get into a fight when they are cornered, and thanks to a lucky break, Catwoman is able to take out her new opponent. She steals Batman's utility belt along with his Batarang as a remembrance of their first encounter and flees the scene. Catwoman tries different experiments to figure out the technology of the utility belt in order to aid her in stealing Katsu Jade's statue. Her actions have repercussions at the Batcave and trigger a plethora of gadgets connected to the utility belt, including the Batmobile and the Batbot, wreaking havoc within the Batcave and destroying a chunk of it. While Catwoman's experiments paid off in assessing full control of the belt and operating the Batarang with it, Batman seeks Alfred's help, where they are driven to resort to desperate measures to grip control upon the situation at hand. As a consecutive night prevails, Catwoman successfully steals Katsu's malachite statue with the help of Batman's utility belt and Batarang, but she is met with Katsu's horde of ninjas who have no intention of letting her leave the mansion alive. Batman reaches the venue just in time to save Catwoman's life, and together they fight off all the ninjas with style and pizzazz, only to recover a CD from Katsu's statue which contains the names and information of every organized crime committed by the Yakuza clan. After the mess is dealt with, Catwoman reluctantly returns Batman's utility belt and the Batarang to him and vanishes into thin air. The episode ends with the police dragging Katsu to jail and links Catwoman as Batman's associate. associate, which gives Alfred the opportunity to mock him about making new friends. Batman has some heavily characterized villains as seen in The Butler Did It, Topsy-Turvy, and Clayfaces. In The Butler Did It, the true focal point of the episode is where the relationship between Alfred and Bruce Wayne, although Alfred is originally a major supporting character for Batman, this episode fleshes him out and drives him to the spotlight. Alfred understands that something crucial is taking place while he's haunted by the nightmare of him fleeing the clutches of Batman. He figures it out that he is being possessed every night by a supervillain who compels him to steal from his master in an apparent sleepwalking haze. This episode introduces Spellbinder, who uses hypnotism to control others with his literal third eye. Spellbinder is a mystic whose character is actually very diverse and cool, which makes this episode really stand out. Adding on to that would be our clown prince of crime, DC's most famous and iconic villain. Topsy-Turvy really explores the real darkness in the Joker's character. It was petrifying to witness a character commit such heinous crimes while being within the confinement of his prison cell. This episode is an all-time joyride for the Batman Joker enthusiasts. The Joker compels an Arkham guard into cloning the Joker persona by threatening him, though which he orchestrates a master plan of tech-savvy kidnappings, while Batman is under the idea that the Joker is rotting in jail. Even as a kid show, this episode is pretty dark and gives a glimpse of the lengths that the Joker would go to defeat Batman, as he has nothing to lose. The entire episode adrenaline is fueled by how the Joker is always a step ahead to a point that it even frustrates the world's greatest detective. The Joker helps in the birth of another terrifying rogue, Clayface. Clayface, as seen in the episode Clayfaces, is the harbinger of chaos when Gotham's most trusted and loyal detective, Ethan Bennett, is heavily manipulated by the Joker. He goes over the edge to completely lose his mind and turns himself into the nefarious villain, wreaking havoc on the streets of Gotham City. But the focal point of this episode is the aftermath of what happens to Gotham after Ethan Clayface Bennett turns himself in and indefinitely swears off crime. Bennett and Batman both are shocked to the core when a new Clayface pops out of nowhere to haunt the streets of Gotham. This particular episode has a very classic take upon whether a villain is worthy enough to be redeemed or not. The action sequences and the new take on the storyline make it a fun episode to rave on.
The tales of the Batman are true. But really, who names himself after a mangy flying rodent?
Some of the finest Batman villains were misused. While a power-packed series with such strong characters as villains should be focusing on its quest for more action, the Batman 2004 failed to deeply explore and analyze the strong character depths of its villains. Most of it was touch and go, whereas the plot had innumerable gaps to fill and entwined stories among the villains. This series saw a lot of new villains like the Clayface or the reinvention of the Frankenstein's monster through Solomon Grundy, but failed to give them a proper character arc after a mind-boggling debut in the show. The writers had villains like the Riddler, Catwoman, Clayface, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and the Killer Croc to work with, but they struggled to assign their villains the kind of strong and heavy appearances and endings that they deserved. Other than the Joker, the Penguin, Hugo Strange, and Mr. Freeze, most other antagonists remained absent and unexplored. After Bane's radical debut, he is dumbed down to a cheap-looking Hulk with a leather-look obsession who is easily defeated. But they really did the Catwoman bad, as she was nowhere to be seen after season 3. This strong, confident, sexy and funny character had a sea of potential, not to mention the tension between the Bat and the Cat that remained disappointingly unexplored. Even the Killer Croc never got to see the main villain after Swamped aired, and even though he was shown to be one of Batman's most difficult rogues plotting to flood the city of Gotham, his later appearances are poorly written, as too many other strong characters take up the screen space, making him a little meh in the end. The Riddler in the Batman 2004 was voiced by Robert Englund himself. Even Freddy freaking Krueger as Riddler did not get more than 3 appearances on the show, although his character deserved so much more. The Riddler's origin story, his character design, and his overall arrogant yet scheming persona can easily deem him as one of the finest villains in the Batman 2004.
Too easy. Instead, We'll play a game.
Marvelous Verdict, a show that redefined the new Batman era. Like all shows, the Batman 2004 sure does come with its flaws in various character arcs it portrays through an absurd amount of episodes. This show also establishes its protagonist as not your usual Batman. Here Batman is a young recruit, just 3 years fresh into his career, which is symbolized by his higher vocal range than his usual lower tone. This show connotes a deep-rooted feeling of nostalgia for all, as it is so much more than the noir-inspired tone of the Caped Crusader who flings his batarang, taking down crime and corruption at once with the throw of a kick and a punch. The renewed aesthetics of the show bring on a modern take of this misty, eerie vigilante, lurking behind the shadows, doing the work of the devil to keep the innocent safe and protected. This show was heavily affected in changing the dynamics of Batman's relationship with Bruce Wayne and those around him. Bruce has a life in the Batman 2004. He is more than a loner trying to escape his dark childhood. We see a hero and a man struggling to keep both parts of his life afloat. This series breaks apart from the standard character depiction of a sad emo dude, as Bruce here is an active character with an earnest will to go out into the world and make something of his life instead of sitting in a depressing corner and enacting life through vengeance. Here Batman as a superhero is a relatable character who is human enough to mourn, get hurt and to even make bad decisions. This really came up as an aspiration for a true role model, especially in a kid's cartoon. Even the villains of the show have a heartbreaking history to pop the question of whether they are worthy enough to be redeemed. Most strong villains of the show with a backstory are portrayed as the victim of their circumstances, be it the Joker, the Clayface, or the Clock King. The era when the Batman 2004 was released saw a major shift in the idea of storytelling in a kid's cartoon. Most cartoons were restricted to stagnant characters devoid of any growth or change, but in the late 2000s, these stereotypes were broken by cartoons like Ben 10, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Spectacular Spider-Man, where we witnessed our heroes evolve, grow, and change while we gradually grew up with them. The Batman rewarded its longtime fans with character evolution while still retaining its non-narrative format. The current world has no dearth of animation shows today, but yet we hardly cross paths with shows like this anymore. The Batman 2004 might have been an underwhelming experience for many, but we still believe that it was a rather misunderstood series that had the right elements to be a timeless classic. So do let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to tell us what your thoughts are about the series. And if you liked our content, well, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.